What if a man with a simple mind accidentally became part of the biggest moments in American history? That is the incredible story of Forrest Gump. Sitting on a bench with a box of chocolates in his lap, Forrest begins telling strangers the story of his life. Born in a small town in Alabama, Forrest faces many challenges from childhood. Because of his low IQ, many people believe he will never achieve anything meaningful. He wears leg braces due to problems with his legs and becomes the target of bullies. Despite everything, his mother constantly teaches him that he is no different from anyone else and encourages him to believe in himself. The most important person in Forrest's childhood is Jenny, a kind girl who becomes his closest friend. Whenever Forrest is scared, Jenny tells him to run, and those words become a defining part of his life. One day, while escaping from bullies, Forrest runs so fast that his leg braces break apart and he discovers an extraordinary talent for running. This moment changes everything. As Forrest grows older, his running ability earns him attention throughout school. His incredible speed eventually helps him receive a football scholarship to college. Even though he struggles academically, he becomes a star athlete and gains national recognition. Forrest's life seems almost guided by chance as he repeatedly finds himself in situations that lead to unexpected success. While attending college, Forrest witnesses important social changes taking place across America. He continues thinking about Jenny, who follows a very different path. She dreams of escaping her troubled past and finding freedom, but her choices often lead her into difficult situations. Despite the distance between them, Forrest never stops caring about her. After graduating from college, Forrest is recruited into the United States Army. Entering military life introduces him to a completely new world. There he meets Benjamin Buford Blue, known as Bubba, a friendly soldier from Alabama whose family has worked in the shrimp business for generations. Bubba quickly becomes Forrest's best friend and spends hours explaining everything there is to know about shrimp fishing. The two men make a promise that one day after the war they will start a shrimp business together. Forrest's military service eventually takes him to Vietnam, where danger waits around every corner. Surrounded by chaos and uncertainty, he relies on the same determination that carried him through childhood. The friendships between Forrest and Bubba grows stronger as they face the realities of war together. Neither of them knows that the events awaiting them in Vietnam will change their lives forever. As the war in Vietnam becomes more intense, Forrest continues serving alongside Bubba and the rest of his unit. Life in the jungle is exhausting and dangerous, but Forrest follows orders exactly as he always has. His straightforward nature earns respect from many of the soldiers around him. Among them is Lieutenant Dan Taylor, a commanding officer whose family has a long military tradition. Lieutenant Dan believes he is destined to die in battle just as many of his ancestors did, and he sees war as the purpose of his life. One day, Forrest's platoon is suddenly attacked. Gunfire erupts from every direction and chaos spreads through the jungle. The soldiers are forced to retreat while explosions shake the ground around them. Forrest runs as fast as he can through the rain and smoke. After reaching safety, he realizes Bubba is missing. Without hesitation, Forrest turns around and rushes back into the battlefield despite the danger. Again and again he searches through the jungle carrying wounded soldiers to safety. Each time he reaches safety, he returns to rescue another man. Eventually he saves several members of his unit, including Lieutenant Dan, who has been severely injured. Forrest finally finds Bubba, but his friend has suffered devastating wounds. Bubba dies while talking about the shrimp business they dreamed of building together. Forrest is heartbroken by the loss of the friend who believed in him from the beginning. Forrest is seriously wounded during the battle and receives a medal for his bravery. While recovering in a military hospital, he reunites with Lieutenant Dan, who is furious about surviving. Having lost both of his legs, Lieutenant Dan believes Forrest robbed him of the honorable death he expected. Angry at the world and struggling to accept his new reality, he pushes everyone away. During his recovery, Forrest discovers another unexpected talent. He begins playing table tennis and quickly becomes exceptionally skilled. His dedication and focus allow him to master the game at an astonishing pace. Soon he is competing at a professional level and even representing the United States in international competitions. Once again, Forrest finds success without actively seeking it. As Forrest becomes a national figure, Jenny continues searching for happiness. Her life takes her through the turbulent social movements of the 1960s and 1970s. She experiments with different lifestyles and relationships but often finds herself surrounded by people who do not truly care about her. Despite her attempts to escape her painful childhood memories, she struggles to find peace. Whenever Jenny and Forrest cross paths, their connection remains strong. Forrest openly tells her that he loves her, but Jenny feels unable to accept the simple unconditional affection he offers. She believes their lives are too different and repeatedly leaves before a lasting relationship can develop. Each goodbye leaves Forrest feeling lonely, yet he never stops hoping that one day they will be together. Meanwhile, Forrest receives national attention for his achievements. He meets important public figures and unknowingly becomes involved in historic events. Even though people around him view these moments as extraordinary, Forrest approaches everything with the same honesty and simplicity that have always defined him. To him, life is simply a series of experiences rather than opportunities for fame. The years continue passing and Forrest keeps moving forward while carrying the memories of Bubba and his promise. He knows that someday he must honor his friend's dream. Although he has no experience running a business, he remains determined to fulfill the commitment they made in Vietnam. That decision will soon lead him into another unexpected adventure that changes his future forever. After leaving the army, Forrest decides to keep the promise he made to Bubba. Using money he has earned, he buys a shrimp boat and begins working along the Gulf Coast. The business starts badly. Day after day, Forrest catches almost nothing while other fishermen return with full nets. Many people think he is wasting his time, but Forrest refuses to quit. His determination remains one of his greatest strengths. During this period, Lieutenant Dan unexpectedly returns to Forrest's life. Still struggling with anger and disappointment, he arrives to see the shrimp boat operation for himself. Long ago, he jokingly promised Forrest that if the shrimp business ever succeeded, he would become his first mate. Since Forrest never forgets a promise, he welcomes Lieutenant Dan aboard without hesitation. At first, the business continues to fail. Then a powerful hurricane strikes the coast. The storm destroys many competing fishing boats and causes enormous damage throughout the region. Remarkably, Forrest's boat survives. When the waters calm, the surviving shrimp boats are few in number and Forrest suddenly finds himself in a perfect position to supply the market. Almost overnight, the company becomes incredibly successful. The business grows rapidly and earns enormous profits. Forrest names it Bubba Gump Shrimp Company in honor of his friend. True to his generous nature, he shares the success with Lieutenant Dan and gives a large portion of the earnings to Bubba's family. For the first time since losing his legs, Lieutenant Dan begins finding purpose again. Gradually, he lets go of some of his bitterness and starts rebuilding his life. As Forrest becomes wealthy, he remains exactly the same person he has always been. Money does not change him. He donates generously and takes care of the people who matter to him. Lieutenant Dan eventually becomes his business partner and close friend. Their friendship grows stronger as they learn to appreciate life in different ways. Despite all his success, Forrest continues thinking about Jenny. She occasionally reappears in his life before disappearing once again. During one emotional reunion, Jenny finally spends time with Forrest at his home. For a brief moment, it seems as if the future he always imagined might become reality. However, Jenny leaves once more without explaining where she is going. Forrest wakes up to find her gone and is left heartbroken yet again. Soon afterward, Forrest receives a letter from Jenny. Instead of returning to his old routine, he experiences something completely unexpected. One morning, he decides to start running. He leaves his house and continues running far beyond the limits of his town. Days turn into weeks and weeks turn into months. Without any specific destination, Forrest keeps moving across the United States. People become fascinated by his journey. Reporters try to understand why he is running, but Forrest has no grand explanation. Some believe he is promoting a cause while others think he possesses deep wisdom. In reality, he simply feels like running. His honesty and simplicity once again inspire people in ways he never intended. As the years pass, thousands of people follow him. Forrest becomes a symbol of perseverance and hope. Yet one day he suddenly stops. Standing in the middle of the road, he calmly announces that he is tired and wants to go home. The followers who expected profound answers are left confused, while Forrest returns to Alabama just as quietly as he left. Back home, another letter arrives from Jenny. This message is different. She asks him to come see her. Forrest immediately travels to meet the woman he has loved for most of his life. What awaits him there will change everything and bring his extraordinary journey toward its most emotional chapter. When Forrest arrives to meet Jenny, he feels nervous and excited. Years have passed since they last spent meaningful time together, and he has no idea what she wants to tell him. The moment he sees her again, he realizes how much she still means to him. Jenny welcomes him warmly, and the two begin talking about everything that has happened in their lives. For Forrest, it feels as though no time has passed at all. During their conversation, Jenny reveals a life-changing secret. She introduces Forrest to a young boy named Forrest. At first Forrest is confused, but then Jenny explains that the child is his son. The news shocks him more than any of the incredible events he has experienced throughout his life. For a moment he struggles to find words. His greatest concern is not whether the child is truly his, but whether the boy is healthy and intelligent. The fear that his son might face the same difficulties he experienced as a child fills him with anxiety. Jenny reassures him that the boy is bright and doing well in school. Hearing this brings enormous relief. Forrest immediately develops a deep bond with his son. He sees in the child everything he has ever loved about life and quickly embraces the role of father. Watching them together becomes one of the most touching parts of the story, because it shows a side of Forrest that audiences have only glimpsed before. Beneath all of his adventures and achievements, he has always wanted a family and a place where he truly belongs. As Forrest spends more time with Jenny and young Forrest, he discovers that Jenny has been facing serious health problems. Although the exact nature of her illness is never fully explained, she knows her future is uncertain. The realization that she may not have much time left changes the way both of them view their relationship. For years, Jenny ran from Forrest because she believed she was not worthy of his love and because she feared hurting him. Now she finally understands that the one constant source of kindness in her life has always been standing right in front of her. Jenny agrees to marry Forrest, and the wedding takes place in a simple, heartfelt ceremony attended by friends and loved ones. Lieutenant Dan arrives with a fiancée copyright of his own, and his presence demonstrates how much his life has changed since the dark days after Vietnam. Once consumed by anger and resentment, he now appears peaceful and grateful. Forrest's friendship helped him find a future he never thought possible. For a short time, Forrest experiences the happiness he has always dreamed of. He shares his life with Jenny and enjoys being a father to his son. These moments are quiet compared to the dramatic events that filled earlier chapters of his journey, but they carry even greater emotional weight. They represent the reward for a lifetime of loyalty, patience, and unconditional love. Sadly, the happiness does not last forever. Jenny's illness eventually takes her life. Forrest is devastated by the loss, yet faces it with the same courage that has guided him through every challenge. He visits her grave and speaks to her as though she can still hear him. In one of the story's most emotional moments, he tells her about their son and how proud she would be of the person he is becoming. After Jenny's death, Forrest dedicates himself to raising young Forrest. He pours all of his love and attention into helping his son grow. The final scenes show him preparing the boy for school and watching him begin his own journey through life. As Forrest sits at a bus stop waiting for his son to return home, he reflects on everything that has happened. His life has been filled with extraordinary adventures, wars, friendships, triumphs, heartbreak, and historical events, yet the lessons remain remarkably simple. Throughout the story, Forrest never seeks fame, wealth, or recognition. He succeeds because he remains honest, loyal, hardworking, and kind even when the world around him becomes complicated. His journey suggests that life is unpredictable and that nobody truly knows where it will lead. Some people believe destiny controls everything while others think life is shaped by random chance. Forrest never fully answers that question. Instead, he leaves us with the idea that perhaps both are true and that the most important thing is to keep moving forward no matter what happens. The film ends much like it began, with the feather floating through the air, carried wherever the wind chooses to take it. The image symbolizes the mystery of life itself. Just as the feather drifts through the world, Forrest has traveled through decades of history, touching countless lives without ever losing his innocence or humanity. His story remains one of cinema's most inspiring tales because it reminds us that greatness does not always come from intelligence, power, or ambition. Sometimes it comes from having a good heart and never giving up on the people you love.